Smoke filled the sky above planet Alarian. The air smelled like burning steel. A red moon hung above the clouds. It was a silent witness to the battle that was about to begin. Commander Riven stood alone on the stone stairs of Temple. Nexus, his armor was scratched and cracked. His right arm was bleeding, but he kept his grip tight on the pulse. Rifle behind him, the doors of the ancient temple stayed shut. Not even wind dared to move them. Elarion was not just any world, it was the last place where the old power still slept. Humans had sworn to protect it, but now only one was left standing. Riven's helmet was broken. He had tossed it aside hours ago. The battlefield needed eyes that could feel, not just see. He looked at the valley below Zarkon. Forces were gathering. Dropships came down like fireflies. Creatures poured out from them like rivers of death. Thousands of alien soldiers, each with armor stronger than steel, each with weapons designed to kill humans in one shot, and they were all coming for him. One man. Riven checked his ammo. 2 grenades, 1 energy cell, 1 blade, no backup, no comms, just silence. But he was not afraid. Not because he believed in victory, but because he had made peace with death. He turned to the temple doors, placed his hand on the old stone. It was warm, a heartbeat faint but steady. He whispered, "I will not let them take you." The ground started to shake. A low hum rose from deep inside the temple. Riven stepped back. He looked around. No wind, no movement. Something had changed. The sky grew darker. The red moon flickered, and for a moment, the Zarkon army paused. Then the silence broke. Sirens from the enemy ships screamed. Creatures charged toward the temple. Gunfire lit the valley like a storm. Riven raised his rifle and fired. Each shot was a promise. Each step forward was a defiance. He did not care how many came. He would not move. He would not let them pass. A beast jumped from a rock, its claws sharp like blades. Riven rolled to the side and stabbed. Upward blood sprayed across the stone steps. More enemies followed. He kept fighting. His blade broke. He picked up a fallen spear, used it like he had trained with it all his life. Fire burned around him, but he did not fall. As the hours passed, the enemy kept coming. His strength began to fade. He dropped to one knee. Blood from his wounds soaked into the ancient ground. Laughed. It was not a laugh of joy. It was a laugh of disbelief. That one man could hold a mountain. That death had taken too long. Then it happened. The temple doors behind him began to glow. Not bright, just enough to cast golden light on his broken armor. Stone shifted. Symbols rose on the surface. Symbols not written by any human. Old energy hummed through the air. Riven turned around. His vision blurred. He tried to stand, but his body refused. The doors began to open. No sound, no dust. Just light, pure, warm, endless. The Zarkon soldiers suddenly stopped. Even they felt it, a force greater than their weapons, something they could not understand. Out from the light, a shadow appeared, soft and tall, moving like water. A figure of light and memory. Riven blinked. His heart forgot to beat for a second. The figure stepped forward, a woman, or something shaped like one. Her hair flowed without wind. Her eyes glowed like stars. She looked at Riven and smiled. She said nothing, but her voice entered his mind. "You held the gate. You carried the flame. Now I remember who I am." Riven fell to the ground, not from pain, but from something else. Relief, peace, recognition. Figure raised her hand. The battlefield froze. Zarkon soldiers stopped mid-step. Fire stopped burning, even the wind. Riven opened his eyes, but the world was no longer the same. The battlefield had vanished. The sky above him was filled with stars. Not normal stars. These stars moved like rivers, shining in colors he had never seen before. He was floating. No pain, no fear, only questions. The figure of light stood near him. She did not walk. She drifted, like a memory trying to take shape. "You are not in your time. Not in your body. You are inside the echo." The echo of the blood war. Her voice echoed in his head, but it did not hurt. It calmed him. Riven looked down. He saw an entire army marching through an alien desert. Thousands of warriors, some human, some not, all covered in the dust of war. He saw fire rain from the sky. He saw gods fall. He saw machines scream as they died, and above it all, a shadow larger than any sun. "What is this?" Riven whispered. "The past," she answered. "The first war, the one your kind never knew. The vision shifted. He saw himself, but it wasn't really him, another man, same face, same eyes, but older, wiser, full of rage. That is not you, she said. But it could be. Riven watched as this other version of him led armies, not with weapons, but with his voice. He gave courage. He gave hope, and when all else failed, he gave his life. Riven stepped closer to the vision. He wanted to reach out, to ask, why me? Because you are not like them. She said, you remember pain, but you don't run from it. You stand in it. You make it a weapon. Suddenly the stars above them cracked, like glass shattering in slow motion. A deep growl shook the space around them. The echo is breaking. Something else is waking. Something old. Something angry. The scene melted around him. Now he was back on Alarian. But it wasn't the same temple. It was the past version, before the wars. Before the walls broke. Before the blood soaked the stones. He stood inside the sacred chamber. Thousands of lights floated in the air. Whispers filled the room, not in words, but in emotions. This place remembers, she said. It remembers every sacrifice, every betrayal, every dream that died here. Riven moved forward. His hands touched the walls. Visions rushed into his mind. Children running through glowing halls, soldiers laughing beside campfires, a world full of peace. Then darkness, metal ships crashing. From the sky, creatures made of bone and shadow. He saw the Zarkan horde rise for the first time. He saw what they truly were. Not just enemies, but thieves of memory, killers of history. They erase not just life, but the story of life. That is why the temple was built, to protect the truth, to protect her. Riven turned to face the goddess. Her light was dim now. She looked tired, old, still powerful, but scarred from within. They tried to break me, she said, but they failed, and you reminded me why the temple began to shake again. This time it wasn't a vision. This was real. We are out of time, she said. You must return. You must prepare for what Riven asked for, the gift and the curse. You were not just defending stone, you were defending the lock, and now the key is awake. Suddenly a flash of red light. The silence broke like glass. Zarkan soldiers began to move again, slow at first, like time was still remembering how to breathe. Riven stood taller than before. He did not feel human. He did not feel like a god either. He felt like a storm that had just discovered itself. Energy crackled across his fingertips. His senses were sharp. He could feel the footsteps of every enemy in the valley. He could smell the oil inside their weapons. He could hear the sky humming, but the power inside him was not his own. It was borrowed, given, or maybe returned. The temple doors behind him opened wider, and from the golden light, she stepped out, no longer just a figure of energy, no longer a whisper in time. The goddess had taken form. Her skin glowed like morning sun over ancient stone. Her eyes held the sadness of 1,000 galaxies, and her presence bent the air around her, like even the world could not carry her weight. The Zarkan stopped moving, all of them, without command, without fear, only confusion. They had legends of her stories passed through stolen minds, a weapon too dangerous to fight, a being they were warned never to face. And yet, here she was, awake, breathing, watching. She walked to Riven, no sound in her steps, but the ground bloomed under her feet. The stone came alive. Old vines and ancient flowers grew across the stairs. Life returned to death. Riven looked at her, not as a soldier, not as a believer, but as a man trying to understand why he was still alive. She reached out her hand and touched his chest. A flash of light spread from her fingers. It passed through his bones, through his blood, into his memories. He saw everything he had lost, his team, his brother, the earth, and then he saw the moments he never knew, the time before time, the birth of stars, the first song of creation. He stepped back. His breath was heavy, his body stronger, but his heart shaking. Why me? He asked. Because you were the only one who stayed, she replied. Others fought, others ran, but you stayed, even when it meant dying alone. That is the sign not of a soldier, but of a protector. Riven looked at the Zarkan horde below. They had not attacked, not yet. They were waiting. And he realized something strange. They were not afraid of him. They were afraid of her. You were locked inside this place, he said. Why not because I was weak? She answered. But because I was too strong, I destroyed worlds once in the name of peace. Until peace became ash, so I chose to sleep until someone could remind me what it meant to protect instead of conquer. Riven felt the weight of her words. This was not just a goddess. This was a weapon that had learned pain. She stepped forward, raised both hands toward the sky, and the clouds split open. Like a curtain, a wave of energy spread across the valley. Zarkan's ships lost power. Their engines died. Weapons melted. Soldiers dropped to their knees. She had not struck them. She had shown them a feeling. The feeling of their own cruelty. And still she did not destroy them. Power means nothing without control. The wind was gone. The birds had stopped. Even the stars above Ilarion seemed to wait. Riven stood at the edge of the temple's inner circle. The stone below his feet now pulsed like a heartbeat. Lines of golden energy moved like rivers around him. Each step he took lit up the path behind. The goddess walked beside him. No crown, no throne, but the way the air bent around her. She didn't need either. She led him to the center of the temple, where a platform rose slowly from the ground. It held no weapons, no armor, just light, pure and steady. This is the core, she said. This is where all power begins and all memory ends. Riven stepped forward. He felt heat against his skin. Not burning, but alive, like a sun had been buried deep beneath the planet. What is this? He asked. The heart of Nexus. She replied, it connects all that was, all that is, and all that might be. You earned the right to touch it, to claim its gift. But you must understand, it does not just give, it also takes. Riven looked at her. The light reflected in his eyes. What does it take? What you hide, she answered. What you fear, and what you cannot let go. He reached out slowly. His fingers entered the light, and everything around him vanished. Now he was somewhere else. Not a place, not a dream, but a mirror made of memory. He saw himself as a boy running through a destroyed street on Earth, smoke in the sky, ash in the wind, holding his brother's hand, trying to reach a bunker. Then the blast. Then silence. He saw his first battle, saw the blood, the fear, the rage he never spoke about. He saw every failure, every mistake, every face he could not save. The mirror showed no lies, no mercy. Riven dropped to one knee. His hands shook. He tried to turn away, but the mirror followed. You asked for strength. The goddess spoke, but strength begins where truth is faced. He stood up, not with pride, but with decision. He stepped through the mirror. Let the pain pass through him. He did not fight it. He accepted it. And the light returned. Now the gift was inside him. No armor, no blade, but something deeper. He could feel gravity bend when he moved. He could hear thoughts like echoes in the wind. He could walk without touching the ground. But more than that, he could feel time, not control it, just understand it. Like a song he suddenly remembered. He turned to the goddess. This is not power. This is everything. Yes, she said. And now you must choose what you will do with it. Riven looked to the valley. Zarkan's ships were retreating, not in fear, but in silence. As if they had seen something they could not fight. He felt stronger than ever. But something inside him whispered, a warning. Every power has a shadow. Every light creates darkness. He felt it in the back of his mind. A voice not his own, watching. Look. Goddess looked at him. You are now more than human. But you are still yourself. That is your strength and your risk. What do you mean? He asked. There is a reason I slept. She said, I once believed power could only save. I was wrong. I gave it freely, and it became a curse. So I locked it away, and myself with it. You must now decide whether you will remain a protector or become something else. Riven stepped back, his heart steady, but his mind full of thunder. What happens if I fail? He asked. The galaxy will. The stars had shifted. Galaxies far away whispered his name. They called him warrior. They called him heir. They called him something the universe had not seen before. Riven now stood in a chamber made of memory. Stone walls shaped by dreams. Voices of forgotten kings echoed without sound. Each step he took revealed images across the surface. Himself, in armor made of light, in places he had never been, on thrones he had never claimed. The goddess had vanished after the awakening. Not dead, not gone. Just watching from behind time, she had said nothing more. She had simply looked into his eyes and faded into the air like smoke. Now he was left to walk this path alone. Worlds began calling for him. Distress signals from planets under siege, people crying for help, for justice, for revenge, and Riven answered. He moved across space like fire through dry leaves. No ship, no crew, just the gift and the curse. Every battle he entered, he ended with force, with mercy, with something the enemy could not name. Some began to worship him, others feared him, some called him a savior, some called him the first god of the new age. Riven did not feel divine. He felt heavy, like every life he saved was stitched to his soul, like every choice left a mark he could not clean. He saw his reflection in the surface of a lake on a silent moon. His eyes no longer looked human, they held galaxies inside, and questions he could no longer ask. One day, he stood above a burning city. Zarkan outposts had turned the planet into a war farm. He had destroyed them all with a thought, but when the smoke cleared, he saw the people he saved, crawling from ruins, afraid to look at him, afraid he might turn next. That night he heard the goddess's voice again, not from the sky, from within. This is what the crown brings, power that ends wars, but begins distance. He tried to speak, but she only listened. He felt the pressure build inside him. The gift was too strong, his emotions too loud. His body no longer just flesh, his soul stretched. Between stardust and steel, he could bend matter. He could crush ships by looking at them. But he could not stop the loneliness. It had followed him through every victory. He sat alone on a dead world, once a garden, now a memory, and then he felt a presence. Not the goddess, not the enemy, something different. Familiar, dark. The air became heavy. His heartbeat slowed. Time itself became quieta. Voice rose from the dust. Not outside, inside. Do you think you are free? It said. Do you think the gift came without a watcher? Riven stood, eyes scanning the horizon, but there was no form, only the voice. I was locked beneath the temple, it said. The same day she locked herself above it. Your awakening opened the seal. You rose. So I did too. Who are you? Riven asked. Cost. The voice replied, I am what comes after the gift. The echo of every choice you make. I do not destroy. I remind. Riven stepped forward, his hands glowing, his voice calm. Then remind me, what is it that I have become? The voice left. The stars were quiet. Too quiet. Riven floated above a silver planet, its surface untouched, no sound. Only one signal, faint, constant, calling him back. Alarian had left it behind, thinking the war had moved forward, but something pulled him home. Not a message, not a warning, a feeling old and sharp like memory wrapped in fire. He landed near the ruins of Temple Nexus. The outer walls were cracked, vines growing through stone, but the pulse beneath the ground was still alive, stronger now. Faster, louder, he walked toward the main gate. Each step opened a new door. The temple welcomed him, like it had been waiting all along, but it was not the same place inside. The lights were red, the air thicker, voices echoed through the halls, not words, just sounds, like whispers trapped between stone. He passed chambers he had never seen before, tunnels that shifted as he walked. The deeper he went, the more the temple remembered, and then at the edge of the deepest hall, he saw a door with no markings. No handles, no sound, but it pulled at him like gravity from the other side. He touched it, and it opened. Behind it was not a room, but a space, floating, endless, built from memory, and there in the center a machine stood. It was not metal, not alive, not dead. It was something in between, wires shaped like veins, lights that blinked like breathing, and a face carved into the center. A human face, stone cold, eyes closed. Welcome. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. I am the guardian, created by the Kosi. First dreamers, built to hold the truth, and the danger within it. Riven stepped closer, his hands glowing faintly. What danger? He asked. The power you carry. The guardian answered, it is not from her. She was only the gate, you were always the key. Riven's heart slowed. What do you mean? The machine showed him, not with screens, but through vision direct to the mind. He saw the first builders, Humans older than history, not warriors but dreamers. They had found something deep beneath Ilarion, a living force. Not born, not shaped, just existing. It could bend space, rewrite memory, undo time. They feared it, so they sealed it, built a temple above it, and created the goddess to guard it. Not a deity, but a firewall, beautiful, powerful, limited. She was designed to choose a protector, only one, every 1,000 years. Only if the seal weakened, and this time it had, because the force beneath had learned, had changed. It no longer slept. It had watched Riven, had listened, had waited. You were chosen, the Guardian said, not because of your strength, but because of your pain. Only one who knew loss could carry the burden without becoming a weapon. But that burden is changing you. It is not just a gift, it is a voice, a seed. Riven stepped back. He could feel it now, something inside him moving, speaking without sound. All this time, it had not just been him growing stronger. It had been growing with him. What happens if it takes control? He asked. Then there will be no gods, no war, no memory, only hunger. Riven looked down. His hands began to tremble, not from fear, from way he had walked through fire, defeated armies, shattered worlds. But now, he stood before the truth. The war had never been against the Zarkan. They were only running from this. And now he had brought it back. The Guardian looked at him. There is still a path, still a chance. Riven stood at the edge of the living core. The heartbeat of the temple echoed through his bones. The chamber pulsed with light, but the color was changing. Gold to red, warm to dangerous, alive to wild. The force inside him stirred again, not angry, not desperate, just ready to become what it had waited to be. He felt it reach toward the stars, toward the systems beyond. Ilarion, it wanted more, not for revenge, not for justice, only to exist without limits. The Guardian's voice returned. The moment is now. There will be no second one. The seal must be remade, or the galaxy will be wrecked, not by war, but by forgetting. Riven turned toward the heart. He raised his hand and the force responded. It pushed against him, not with violence, but with temptation. He saw visions again, futures shaped by his will, entire empires built from peace. No war, no hunger, no pain in those futures. He stood alone, crowned, feared, worshipped. He blinked, the vision shifted. He saw another path, a quiet one where no one remembered his name, where power faded and people lived by their own choices, not his. And then he saw the third, the true future. If he did nothing, he saw the force rise from him, break the temple, flood the stars, erase every story, every history, every soul. He dropped to one knee, his heart heavy, his breath shaking. He asked one question, why me? And the answer came, not from the Guardian, not from the goddess, but from deep inside. Because you never wanted it, you never craved control, you never asked for worship. You simply stood when others ran. Riven stood now, not with pride, but with clarity. He looked at the heart. It beat faster. It felt his choice coming. It begged, offered one last vision. A planet with his name, a star forged from his will. He smiled soft true, then stepped forward into the light. It wrapped around him. It rose. It howled, not in anger and fear, because it knew it was being given up. He placed both hands on the core and whispered no more. The temple shook. Waves of energy burst upward into the sky. Stars blinked across galaxies as the force began to collapse inward, not destroyed, but sealed, bound by choice, by sacrifice, by memory. The Guardian's voice faded, its purpose complete. The light dimmed, the pulse slowed, the air grew still, and Riven was gone. No ashes, no bones, only silence. The people of Ilarion searched for him. The worlds he saved spoke his name for generations. Some built statues, others wrote songs, but the temple never opened again. Its doors sealed by something greater than stone, a decision, a dream, a man who walked into power and walked out of it. No one ever found his armor. No one ever saw his face again. But sometimes, on nights when the sky turned gold, old warriors said they felt him watching, not as a god, not as a ghost, but as a guardian who chose to remain a man when he could have become anything.